Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really critical, I think. We're going to crack open this highly innovative financial mechanism. It's designed to solve one of the biggest bottlenecks facing the U.S. economy right now.
Yeah, and that bottleneck is skilled labor.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're talking about the technicians, the specialists needed for these huge national projects, data centers, semiconductor fabs, the whole energy transition thing driven by the IRA and CHIPS Act funding.
Exactly. So our sources are really focused on EON Reality's SkillBuild Special Purpose Vehicle, the SPV. And the goal of this deep dive is basically to unpack the specific bankable financial structure. It's set up to inject modern XRAI-based training capacity into community and technical colleges super fast. And here's the kicker. Without forcing the colleges themselves to take on new institutional debt. That's the absolute key.
Right. This is really a deep dive into financial engineering, but it's aimed squarely at fixing a workforce problem. The core tension, that we see coming through in the sources, it's the speed mismatch.
Speed mismatch.
That's
Explain that.
Well, you've got public capital, think government funding flowing really fast now. The traditional training systems, they're stuck, constrained by academic budgeting, slow capital expenditure cycles. They move at the speed of semesters, maybe even years.
And that delay is it's crucial, isn't it? These big strategic projects, they're moving at the speed of capital, and increasingly they're conditioned on showing documented workforce delivery.
Absolutely. If you can't prove you can train the workers in time, you might lose the funding, lose the incentive. So this skill build model, it tries to front load that capacity. It essentially decouples delivering the infrastructure from the college's slow budgeting process.
Got it. So ensuring training capacity moves at the speed of capital demand, not the speed of the registrar's office.
You got it. That's the idea.
Okay, so let's unpack the EON Reality platform itself first. What exactly is it, and how does it actually bridge this gap, between needing these new skills and generating, immediate verifiable income for the people graduating?
Right. So EON solution is very outcome-driven. It's designed as a closed-loop system. Think. Skills linking directly to jobs, linking directly to income.
Skills years income. Okay.
Yeah. And the foundation piece is their virtual campus. This gives access to a really massive global course library, and it's paired with AI mentorship tools. The whole point is producing auditable, job-ready outcomes, not just, a certificate saying you showed up.
So this is way beyond just sticking some VR headsets in a room.
Oh, absolutely. It's a whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
Content, assessment, the whole package.
I found the localization part really interesting. You mentioned generic content scaling up to premium content.
Yes, and that feature is vital if you want to get those big anchor employers on board. The system starts with generic foundational skills content stuff that's globally scalable, right? But then to really meet specific employer needs, it has to be rapidly localized, turned into premium content that mirrors, say, the specific standard operating procedures, the SOPs of a local employer, or the exact facility specifications, maybe even down to equipment layout, or just using the local language. That's what verifies the outcome as truly job-ready for that particular industry partner.
Okay, makes sense. But we agreed, academic budgeting is too slow for this kind of massive, rapid rollout. So let's get to the hard part, paying for it all. Deploying this platform needs significant capital upfront. And that's where this SkillBuild SPV comes in, right? The finance engine.
Exactly. This is, I think, where the model gets really clever. When we talk about a special purpose vehicle, or SPV, just think of it as a separate company. It's a lender-grade financial entity created for basically one single job, procuring and financing this workforce infrastructure.
And it's ring-fenced, you said.
Ring-fenced, yeah. Meaning its financial health is totally separate from the college's academic health or budget.
Okay, so if the SPV is the specialized financial operator, it's the entity that actually secures the debt and sources the grants, buys the assets, the labs, licenses, mobile units, the trainer stuff.
Correct.
But then who holds the bag? I mean, who shoulders the financial obligation if, say, the economy tanks or a key employer contract falls through?
And that is the crucial distinction you really need to grasp here. The SPV is the borrower. It manages the financial risk. The college, they remain the academic provider of record. They keep all their academic control, their accreditation.
Wow.
So they get the shiny new infrastructure, the capacity boost, but without that corresponding debt hitting their balance sheet.
That is a huge, huge benefit for the institution.
Okay, but for the financing to actually work, the SPV have to show the lenders, a bulletproof repayment path. Where does the money come from? What are these diversified revenue streams that give it that resilience?
Right, so the sources lay out four main contracted inflows, and the emphasis is really on repayment being tied directly to demand and, importantly, success.
Okay, what's number one? First, and probably most important for getting banks interested, are the employer take-or-pay contracts. These are firm agreements. Anchor employers basically pre-purchase a committed number of training seats every year. That guarantees a fixed revenue stream for the SPV.
Take or pay. That sounds strong. But aren't those employer contracts still a bit risky? I mean, what if the employer pulls out or has massive layoffs? How is that secured?
That's a perfectly valid question, and we'll see in a minute when you talk about the security package how that risk is mitigated. But fundamentally, yeah, these are structured as pretty long-term commitments. It shifts the financial risk away from, say, volatile state budgets and onto contracted industrial demand.
Okay, so employer contracts, what's the second inflow?
The second is channeling existing government funding streams. This includes standard tuition payments, often money coming from existing state and federal job training funds, things like WIOA TPL tuition. That money gets directed through the SPV.
All right, let me just clarify that jargon for folks listening. WIOA is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and ETPL is the eligible training provider list. So basically, these are existing public training dollars the college might already be entitled to.
Exactly.
But now they're channeled to help pay off the debt on the infrastructure that makes the better training possible.
Precisely. Okay, third inflow, outcomes payments. Now, these are performance-based. They're tied directly to verifiable metrics, things like job placement rates, retention rates, often measured at, say, 90 days or maybe 12 months out, and critically measurable wage increases for the graduates.
So it aligns the SPV's financial success with the actual workforce success of the community.
Exactly right. It creates that alignment. And the final piece is usually dedicated, targeted grants.
Okay.
These often act as a sort of subordinated layer of capital, meaning they take a backseat to the main bank debt. It adds stability. But it's not usually the primary repayment source. It's really about leveraging public funds to de-risk the private capital.
Got it. This whole shared mission idea sounds critical. The sources mention a collaboration agreement, like an MOU, that formalizes everything. What role does that play in the governance?
It's really important for creating an inclusive governance structure. It brings together the colleges, the employers, the local workforce boards, the funding agencies, puts them all under one framework for shared accountability. And critically, it ensures that the curriculum stays relevant and there's real workforce accountability, but without the ownership liabilities or the kind of administrative gridlock that can often just sink these big multi-party consortiums.
Right, death by committee.
Avoids that, hopefully.
Okay, so that brings us right to the lenders. Why do they say yes? Why is this bankable? It sounds like it has to mirror successful infrastructure finance, and the sources detail this robust 5-tier security package.
That's exactly right. It's structured to protect the debt against various kinds of failure.
I'm particularly interested in Tier 3, the credit enhancements, because that seems pretty unique compared to traditional college borrowing. But let's maybe walk through the whole structure first. What protects the lender if those core training outcome targets aren't actually met?
Okay, so Tier 1 is the simplest. The contracted revenue streams we just talked about. That's the foundation, those employer commitments, the predictable flow of outcomes payments.
Right.
Tier 2 provides the physical backup, the hard assets. This means the actual physical XR labs, the devices themselves, and, really crucially, the escrowed licenses for the core EON Reality software platform.
Okay, so if the contracts somehow fail, the lender can basically seize the equipment and the software licenses. What does that actually mean for the college? Does everything just stop?
Well, it means the lender has a tangible asset they can potentially liquidate or maybe reassign to a different operator. It ensures they can recover their capital. Remember, the assets are licensed to the SPV, not directly to the college. That's a key reason the college stays debt-free in this scenario.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's talk Tier 3 then. Credit enhancements. You don't often hear about philanthropic capital acting as first loss protection in, say, municipal bonds. How common is this here?
It's a major differentiator, you're right. Tier 3 is really where the structure gets resilient. It bundles together things like employer letters of credit, LOCs, which are essentially bank guarantees backing up the employer's promise to pay for training seats.
Okay.
And yes, philanthropic capital that's specifically structured as first loss.
So if there's some initial losses, maybe fewer students placed than projected, that philanthropic money absorbs the hit first? protecting the main bank loan.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. It de-risks the investment for the major commercial banks, which helps make the senior debt cheaper and easier to raise in the first place. And targeted public grants often fit in here too, structured as subordinated capital, adding another layer of protection for that primary lender.
Okay. And then tiers 4 and 5, those deal more with cash flow controls and operational risk.
Precisely. Tier 4 involves very strict cash controls. This is where you have an independent trustee involved. They hold all the revenue that comes in from employers, tuition, grants in special segregated accounts, including the critical DSRA.
DSRA, debt service reserve account. Give us the quick conversational definition of that.
Yeah, think of the DSRA as basically a rainy day fund, specifically for debt payments. It's a segregated pot of money, held aside just for emergencies. Typically, it holds enough cash to cover maybe 6, maybe 12 months of debt service payments.
Ah, okay.
So it ensures that even if there's a temporary blip in cash flow, maybe a delay in getting state WIOA reimbursements, the senior lenders still get paid on time, every time.
That really does make the whole thing feel much more like a secured utility bond or something less like typical education finance.
That's definitely the intent. And Tier 5 then provides the operational backstop, step-in rights.
Step-in rights.
Yeah. If the SPV operator, the entity running the day-to-day, fails to meet its obligations, the lender has the legal right to step in. They can replace the operator, they could reassign the training contracts to someone else, or take control of the licensed assets. Basically, whatever's needed to protect their investment.
And the sources mentioned this independent trustee also administers the waterfall. Can you explain that cash flow process for us?
Sure. The waterfall is just the priority list for how the money gets paid out. All the contracted revenue, employer payments, tuition, grants, it all flows first to the trustee. And the rule is set in stone. Debt service, paying back the lenders, is priority number 1.
Always paid first.
Always paid first. Only after that senior debt is fully satisfied for the period and the DSRA is topped up if needed, only then are any operational funds or distributions made to the other partners, like the college or EON Reality itself. It absolutely guarantees payment security for the lender above everything else.
Okay, so the governance structure kind of reflects this dual need, right? Speed and legitimacy. You've got the SPV board handling the money side, the financial mechanics,
Right.
and then the collaboration council with the colleges, employers, workforce leaders. They shape the actual curriculum and ensure accountability.
Exactly. It's a system designed to get you speed with legitimacy.
Yeah.
Because the academic leadership, the faculty, they have to approve the curriculum localization. That's that faculty-first localization approach we mentioned.
Right.
So the financial board makes sure the money moves fast, but the academic council ensures the quality stays high and it's actually relevant to what local employers need.
Okay, let's try and ground this with an example. If you're a college president or a dean listening to this, what does this actually look like on the ground? What are the really unique benefits of this no-debt, high-control pitch?
Well, the most immediate benefit is just the speed of deployment. Launch time for new high-tech programs, which usually takes months, sometimes years because of capital approvals and procurement cycles.
Yeah.
It drops down to potentially weeks to first cohorts.
Oh, weeks.
Yeah, which allows the college to immediately jump on those IRA or CHIPE funding opportunities we talked about earlier. There's no new college debt added to their books, and the faculty keeps total academic control over the content being taught.
And what about accountability, especially for high-stakes technical training? The sources mentioned something called the Integrity Suite. How does that help accreditors and governing boards trust the results?
Right, the Integrity Suite. So the platform uses performance-based XR assessment, which means it generates this audit-ready telemetry data, essentially. The system can track mastery, proficiency, skills acquisition in real time.
Okay.
And it provides verifiable, data-driven evidence of competency. That kind of data really satisfies the rigorous audit requirements of accreditors and funding agencies. It's a huge leg up compared to traditional POPR tests or just lecture attendance.
We mentioned some initial focus markets where the need is really acute. Northern Virginia for data centers, Phoenix with TSMC, Central Ohio near Intel. Let's use that Northern Virginia, the Novia case example, maybe illustrate the revenue flow and the capital stack.
Sure. So in the Northern Virginia area, the sources show just massive demand indicators. If partners like, say, AWS and Dominion commit to just 1,000 training seats per year.
Which sounds plausible given the scale there.
Right. That alone, the sources estimate, could generate something like $15 million in contracted annual revenue. That predictable contracted demand is what justifies raising the upfront capital.
Okay, and how does the capital stack break down in that example?
Well, the sources illustrate a sample $30 million SPV capital stack for a project roughly that size. Maybe around $18 million of that would be senior debt, the main bank loan. And that debt is anchored by the guaranteed cash flow, yes, but crucially, it's layered with protection from subordinated public grants and those philanthropic first loss funds we discussed. It's a really good illustration of using guaranteed demand to leverage private capital effectively.
Got it. And success then is measured by hard KPIs, key performance indicators that serve both the lenders and the academic partners.
Absolutely. Everyone's incentives are aligned around outcomes. The college boards, the accreditors, they're tracking things like time of competency, placement rates, ideally within, say, 90 days long-term retention on the job, and, of course, verifiable wage uplift for the graduates.
And the lenders, what's their main metric?
For the lenders, they're focused intensely on the SPV's own credit metrics, primarily the DSCR, the debt service coverage ratio.
DSCR, let's just clarify that one quickly for the listener too.
Sure. The DSCR is simply the ratio between the cash flow the project is generating and the required debt payments for that period. So if the DSCR is, say, 1.25, it means the project is generating 25 cents more in cash flow for every dollar of debt payment it needs to make. Lenders typically require a pretty high, consistent DSCR, maybe 1.5 or even higher, to feel comfortable. The whole financial architecture of this SPV is really designed to maximize and stabilize that ratio over time.
That really does make the whole picture clear. So this SkillBuild SPV model, it's essentially a high-speed mechanism. It converts the delivery of this essential training capacity from what used to be a slow, risky capital expense on a college's books into a rapid, outcome-based, and crucially commercially secured contract stream. It seems like it breaks that old funding logjam entirely.
It really aims to. By structuring the infrastructure itself, the labs, the licensed content, the training capacity as a kind of utility-like asset, it allows it to be financed, secured, and administered against guaranteed demand. And that demand comes in the form of enforceable employer contracts and those audited placement results. It really is applying infrastructure finance principles to workforce development.
So, zooming out, what does this all mean for the bigger picture? For public funding, for education more broadly?
Well, I think what the sources really demonstrate is that the true innovation here, the thing enabling this rapid acceleration, it isn't just the tech, right? The XR and AI, they're necessary tools, definitely.
Right.
But it's the financial structure that unlocks their immediate deployment at scale.
The structure enables the tech.
Exactly. And if contracted demand and outcomes payments can successfully drive this kind of debt-free modernization in technical colleges by basically mirroring infrastructure finance, well, that raises a really interesting question, doesn't it?
Which is?
What other areas of public service or education, think about things like school facility upgrades, maybe community health services, maybe even teacher training programs, areas that are currently constrained by those slow public capital cycles. Could they benefit from adopting a similar SPV-driven, outcomes-backed financial model? It's almost like a financial template for overcoming institutional inertia.
That is a fascinating thought. Using creative financial engineering, basically, to solve systemic public service delivery problems. That's definitely an angle worth mulling over. Thank you for guiding us through the complexities and the potential of the SkillBuild SPV today.
My pleasure. It was great digging into it.
We certainly hope this deep dive provided you with the clarity and insight you needed on this, well, complex but really crucial intersection of finance, technology, and education. Until next time.